evening. We're going to talk about immigration in 2024. A look forward, but we cannot look forward without looking a little bit backward.
Yeah,
We got to look a little bit about what happened in 2023, and then we're going to talk about what to expect in 2024. We're not projecting. We're not predicting. We're having a conversation. Today is December 18th, 2023. It appears to me that the following 2 Mondays probably were not going to be available for the holiday season. They just fall on um, the
Christmas Day and New Year's Day.
yes, and therefore we are in fact broadcasting our last 2023 YouTube get together with our listeners.
Yeah,
And as such, we want to talk about 2024, what to expect, and what to look forward to. Brian, let's take a quick look at 2023. 2 minutes. We're not
okay.
looking backward. We're just extrapolating from what's transpired.
Sure. Um, I mean, I want to just pick what first comes to mind for me in 2023. It's perhaps the end of the good times in terms of visa availability. The post-COVID, the COVID related visa availability. Department of State has kind of moved and gotten back to more or less full capacity, and we'll talk about that as we look forward as well. But that's kind of what we've been talking about lately, and lately being in 2023 is perhaps a return to the immigration status quo, and that those classic when we look at the visa bulletin, we see it could be move a week in a month, not move months in a month. No big predictable, but boring and bad for people who are in need of movement there. You know,
Was 2023 a good year for our clients? For Was 2023 good for you? I think is what I want to hear from everybody. If you can just comment on that, maybe we can pick up some of the comments from your feedback.
I
Immigration law, when immigration law is good for our clients, immigration law is good for our clients. When our clients, from a business perspective, are doing well, they're finding jobs, they're getting promotions, they're feeling secure, right? They're
yeah,
putting money in the bank, they're saving money, they're sending money back home, they are saving money for their kids' colleges, and feeling solid and secure in this country, then immigration law is good. When that's not happening, immigration law is not good. People feeling insecure, things are not progressing the way it should, and and clearly it reflects negatively on immigration law, or immigration law reflects negatively on people. I would probably rate my personal feeling about what our clients have experienced in 2023 is probably a B minus. I don't think I would give it more than that. Clearly, the slow movement in the visa bulletin, the continuation of that very slow progression in the visa bulletin is a big problem. Those who are coming into the system have experienced slow labor certification
oh
process,
yeah,
a
Whew.
slow prevailing wage application, slow I-140 approval.
Slow H-1B approvals as well. They say they only take a couple months, but it's once a week. I'm talking to somebody who's have had an H-1B in process for like 6 months, and they're asking me what's the deal. The deal is, you know, uh,
Well,
uh,
what about this H-1B fiasco?
the cap.
700 applicants, 400 of which are duplicate. One wonderful gentleman filed 98 times,
Yeah, yeah. Oh
and
man, we should be revisiting that on this. That's a highlight of 2023 for me. The
yeah,
enterprising gentleman who got registered, 90 times or whatever it was, something like
98
80 or
times,
was it 98 times?
I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah,
Well,
98 times he
it was either
registered.
70, 80, 90. All those numbers are ridiculous, but I don't blame the guy. You
What
know,
about those people who withdrew from the H-1B cap because they're scared to get in trouble?
Well, those people, there are people who did get in trouble. We've heard, sort of grumblings about that, but there's still something to come there. If the USCIS, if there's any teeth in what they were saying, oh, this is wrong, this is illegal. In theory, somebody out there is seeing there should be prosecutions for this. And I've been monitoring the news. I haven't seen anybody. I haven't gone as deep as to log into Pacer, the federal court search service, and look for cases on that. Probably be hard to find that way anyway. But I mean, that's a 2023 issue that in theory can manifest again in 2024 with charges for
Yeah.
people, the worst offenders on that front.
So now we head into 2024.
Yeah,
Okay, and we are in an election year.
yeah,
Um, uh, President Biden is now behind in the polls. A year is a lifetime in terms of what's going to happen at the end of the year.
yeah.
It's a lifetime in politics, I guess they say.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would say the election campaign really hasn't started in earnest yet. The Republicans haven't picked a candidate, and all the polls we see are about Biden v. Trump, and that's the theoretical.
Yeah.
Theoretical election, but we don't know whether that's going to happen yet. Plus both these guys are what late 70s. They're not. A health scare could honestly turn the political world upside down.
Right. But obviously, if Biden is elected, it's going to be a good 2025.
Maintain the
Uh,
status. Maintain the status
he
quo.
may,
Which
I mean, he may, by administrative executive order, can move things along, do
yeah.
things
Well,
differently.
he will have a mandate. He will
Yeah.
have no nobody to report to but himself. He won't have to worry
Yeah.
about it next election. He will worry about his
Yeah.
presidential legacy. Yeah.
But in 2024, however, that's not the case. In 2024, he cannot go. I mean, he's already too far to the left in the eyes of many people, but he cannot go further to the left because he's going to alienate a lot of people in the center.
Yeah.
And therefore, I don't see legislation. I mean, let's tackle legislation.
Yeah.
Do you
So
think?
reform. Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be an immigration reform in 2024?
Here's what okay. I predict that there will be about once a month a new immigration reform proposed every month. That's my belief. Do I believe any of them will be passed? No, frankly, because I don't know. I've been taught by the world to abide by what I have seen, and I've seen, like I said, about once a month, somebody introduces a new version of immigration reform, or recapture, or changing the calculations, or eliminating per country limitations, and they don't go anywhere. People ask me about them as soon as they come out, and my response is the same. I'll believe it when I see it on President Biden's desk, and I'm suddenly buried in green card applications.
Right,
It
right.
just hasn't happened, and 2024 does not seem the time for you know I mean, first of all, Biden doesn't want to see himself as being moved further left or do anything controversial. If by chance Biden would consider this a political win, well, the right doesn't want to give it to him.
Scale of
So
1 to 10. 10 is 100% chance we will have reform. 1 is 1% chance we're going to have reform. What would you give it? Scale of 1 to 10.
one,
1.
yeah,
So we don't think there's any reform coming. And I have to agree with Brian. It is not a year in which, as a matter of fact, it's probably the least likely year in 100 years that we
yeah.
would have immigration reform. We have, I think I was reading in the paper that they called the House Republican is the least effective House in American history.
Well,
Um,
so there's an executive that doesn't like them, and they don't like the executive, right? They don't
well, and they
like the
don't like
president.
each other.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
the House don't.
Both
Yeah,
sides.
yeah.
So
Well, the House Republican don't like the House
yeah,
Republican.
this is very true. So
Yeah.
let's get a political hypothetical, Sam. This fall, everything shifts. Everything goes right wing. Republicans control anything. Do you see a better or worse chance of getting an immigration reform post that theoretical election?
That's a good question.
Well,
Uh,
I will give my if you don't
yeah,
have one
please.
immediately, I'll
Yeah,
give you my
yeah,
opinion on. I
yeah.
don't think it's off the table. I mean, we have
No, no,
seen.
it's not off the table at all. But how is it going to look like? Is the question.
Yeah, well, I think if you're in the employment world, I don't think that's I think that the Republicans, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out they hate they don't like refugees, asylees, people crossing the border. Um, Employment-based immigration for most of them is not a dirty word. There are some people for whom it is, but I would be optimistic that the corporate folks who are lobbying them might be willing to might be able to convince them that employment based immigration reform to get the top talent we need from around the world to drive our economy might be viable. I don't put that off the table with the Republican Congress and a Republican executive. So, and I'm surprised by
No,
me
no,
saying
I
that.
wouldn't at all. But I think it's going to be one of those uh, out of the box solutions. It's not going to be let's increase the numbers. Let's do let's tinker. It's going to be like dumping the whole system and then coming out with something new, which can be of a great advantage or of a great disadvantage to our clients.
But you
It's
mean a total overhaul of the in that.
Yeah, yeah. He may just go in and say, I need only PhDs and masters. I don't want anybody else with back. I mean, they can do crazy stuff that is completely unpredictable.
That
You
is,
know,
I mean, that is the worry. That's what we saw when the prior executive administration came in. It's massive immigration upheaval. It was people, green
yeah.
card holders weren't sure whether they'd be able to come back to the United States when they were
But I
from
think we're jumping 2024 to 2025. So let's go back on
You're
2024.
right. A theoretical presidential inauguration would be in January 2025, and we are just,
Ahead of ourselves
you're right.
because
You're right.
it is the big year 2025. I guess if you tell me what's so important about 2024, it's going to
That's not
be
20. Yeah,
the
yeah.
year before the very important year in which potential immigration reform is highly likely.
Everything's on the table. The 2024 we can talk about 2024 right now because it is just a couple weeks away, and
Yes.
also it's highly predictable. 2025 is no man's land. Yeah.
If you survived, if you're listening to this in December of 2023, congratulations. It's wonder surviving is an accomplishment in 2023, Brian. Being able to come out of 2023 not worse off than going into 2023
This is
is
true.
thumbs up.
Yeah, I
Okay.
thought you were going to be addressing the people who are watching this, in December 2024. It's
But you
for
can.
sitting inside the crater in which they live when the world ends in December of 2024.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, I'm just kidding.
But I think if you're coming out of 2023, um, not worse off,
Yeah,
not worse off than going into 2023. I think that's an accomplishment.
yeah. I think
Now, I'm sorry to cut you off here, but what is significant about 2024 is the economic soft landing. Everybody's agreeing now that the Biden
recovery. Yeah,
economic agenda, Bidenomics, I guess they call it, has worked. He has controlled inflation. He put this high employment growth under check because it was killing companies from being able to really manage their employee force um, under control. And the market is positively responding. The market feels strong. The market is rebounding. As a matter of fact, we have surpassed the dip in the market in the last 2 years into a new heights in terms of in terms of Wall Street, which means that people are investing back in Wall Street. People are having trust in companies to generate revenues, which means companies are going to be able to continue to grow and hire, despite the broken immigration system that we have. Companies remain competitive.
yeah.
U.S. companies continue to be the leaders in the world. I don't care, who you talk to: Apple, Microsoft, Google,
They're here.
Facebook, right,
Yeah,
and so on and so forth, right?
yeah.
They're here in the U.S. and they're hiring.
Yeah.
So that's good for 2024. But I don't see 2024 a year of a major change in terms of new reform, new policies. Obviously, we have this big deal,
Yeah, I'm
which
about to
is
fight with
the
you on that one, Sam.
which is the with this which is the visa stamping.
Yeah. So I mean, there's some changes coming in 2024, and these are falls in the category of things that we know that are coming.
Yeah,
And first on that list is the H-1B visa. The visa stamping inside the United States. What we do know is that a pilot program for 20,000 individuals won't include H dependents, which is boggles my mind as to why they wouldn't. Um, and and what we also know is that is its announcement is going to be imminent. That I was reading an article today that said it apparently passed its last political check, approval by the executive branch before announcement. I was checking the regulations, the federal regulations.gov website to look for it, and it's not there yet. But it seems inevitable that it's coming and coming very soon. Meaning, Sam, we said this is the last of our scheduled, 2023 sessions. But I think if we get a good update about, visa stamping in the United States before year end, which I think we will, I think you and I might be going live on a stream like this to talk about it because it'll be a
yeah.
huge thing.
Anything happen between now and end of the year that's really worthy, you and I can just
Yeah,
flip our laptop
yeah.
and do a session.
Well, we're still gonna be here in the office of course. It's just not on Mondays because there's just not business days in the
We'll be
United States.
opening presents, and you guys will probably be opening presents with your families, or at
Yeah,
least sitting in, sipping
enjoying a
on,
nice day off. Yeah,
yeah, hot chocolate or whatever
yeah.
that
You don't have to
that works for
celebrate
you.
every
Yeah.
holiday to enjoy the fact that you're not working on it
Yes.
exactly.
Is not the H4 be included in this new stamping?
Not included. That's everything I've read. Again, I don't have
But
official
nothing
details
confirmed.
of
Yeah,
the. Yeah, I
nothing
know. I don't
official.
believe it until I see the regulations, but it boggles my mind. It kind of slashes the utility of that greatly in my book. I guess
I think it's just inability to handle the volume.
well, I guess it cuts the other way in that I guess if they want to keep their pilot program simple, you keep it to one single visa classification.
But how does that benefit a family? Now you got to send your. But I guess why would you want to be stamping in H4? Stay here. If you're going out, go get stamping out.
Well,
You're
I,
not
I could I could
working.
I could argue it. Okay, theoretically, the primary H-1B person has to go on a trip abroad, and they can do that without having to a business trip abroad. They can do that without having to sweat visa stamping if they need it. So that's good. But I mean, how do you think this is going to work out, Sam? I was doing some research in terms of how they issue because Department of State does right now issue certain visas in the United States, like diplomatic visas, for example. And I was researching that. It's basically an immigration form you send to the Department of State, and they send back diplomats visa stamps. And I mean, 20,000 people. There has to be some sort of electronic system for that. I figure, and there is already an electronic system available from the Department of State that people use for visa applications already. I thought it might be part of that, but I fear that like I have to have some sort of lottery or registration system. I can't because here's what my nightmare scenario is. It's some Tuesday afternoon, for example, it's announced, and if they make it available immediately, those things are going to be taken up.
Oh,
Autom-
or the server will shut down.
oh yeah, no, you're right. No, well, no matter what, if they announce a specific day where it's going to, the 23rd, December 23rd at noon, whoosh, whatever computer system that's it is going to get hit by 20,000 by 100,000 people trying to get those slots. You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
and that's something that I can't wait to
You know,
see what happens
I
there.
get calls by a lot of people say, "Are you guys going to be representing people in filing applications, etc., etc.?" Well, uh, we don't know anything about the system.
Yeah.
It may be somewhere between 5 minutes and 25 minutes before all those are sold out.
Yeah, my
Um,
advice is to anybody is do the same thing that I'm doing is watch the news because whenever it gets announced, that's when we'll know the details. And if by chance they do something crazy like it's going to be open on day X and available, you want to know as soon as possible so you can prepare. I don't think it's going to be something like that. I think they're going to probably be announcing a registration site or window, but I mean, how can they? I mean, I guess they have to. There's bound to be more than 20,000 applicants, right? Would you agree?
Yeah,
It
of
has to
course.
be
Yeah.
some sort of random lottery system then, or else they do it in order, which again is going to cause a nightmare. So I'm looping back on myself, meaning maybe we've run this topic to the ground, but
Yeah.
that's an interesting change. So
All right. So summarize 2024 for me. I think 2024 is same as 2023. If we come out of 2024 in the same shape as we're going into 2024, where that's an up, maybe with a slight improvement. I think the economy is going to pick up again. We're going to see a strong economy. I mean, I don't know whether it's going to be the situation where we people snatch people from each other. Remember, was people were moving around, getting a lot of offers. In the last
yeah,
couple of years, it was years of really staying still and not moving around. So maybe we'll see some movement, maybe an uptick in the economy where people have more options, but not much better because it's an election year. I don't see any new regulations, any new proposal, anything extreme, anything of a serious nature that is controversial. That's not going to happen.
well, on the long term, immigration, capital I, permanent residence part, I agree. But there's still we didn't talk about the H-1B visa lottery changes as well, Sam. I mean, that's something. It's not a long term permanent thing, but it kind of does shift the demographics of who might be able to come to the United States to work on a temporary visa. I mean, what we do know is they are going to be in 2024. Odds are changing the H-1B lottery system to a system that is basically one person, one registration. One you put your name in once, you have as good a chance as anybody else who has their name in there. And for me, that can really kind of change the demographics of who's in the United States on an H-1B visa. Do you find that more companies are willing to sponsor H-1B visas in 2024 because new H-1B visas because there's better
The
chance of
feedback
success?
so the feedback I'm getting from employers is this really puts us in a tough spot because um, employee is going to file now multiple cases because it's one entry, and then they're going to decide. So advantage employees.
Yeah.
I mean, for those companies that don't double file, don't play that game, not much of a change for them.
Oh, I
Um,
would say better chance of success because I mean,
I think
more.
it's going to be the quality of the company. I mean, basically, what's going to happen is when an employee gets selected 4 times, it's one selection, so they
Yeah.
get to choose between 4 companies.
Who's offering me the best, the most stable, the best offer, right?
I think it's going to be the reputation of the company, the reputation of their legal team, being comfortable that this company has is going to carry them through and pay them well and give them an opportunity to grow. I mean, it's the same thing. It doesn't
Well,
change too much.
I kind of do. I mean, that's good if you're a well-established company, but I guess that's a problem for somebody who wants to hire, their first, H-1B worker.
Yes.
I mean, I'm going to go for if I have multiple options, I'm going to go for the most stable company
Mm.
I can, and that's kind of lousy for me, and that it reduces the access in theory of those.
So there is also the potential of H-1B self-employment. The
Hmm.
H-1B self-employment also can be a massive
Yeah.
change. I don't know how aggressive people going to be taking advantage of it. I mean, we've seen a lot of AC-21, I-485
Yeah.
filing for starting their own companies, but these are mature individual after so many years of being
Yeah.
in business and able to do it.
Oh yeah, they've been in the
And
United
and we
States
don't
typically
see
for
and we
10
don't
years.
see tons of people jumping on it. We see some
Yeah.
people, but
A
not a lot of
handful.
people. Yeah,
Well,
not a
I
lot
guess
of people.
I
A
guess the
percentage.
point is we know that it's not just H-1B cap reform. There's all sorts of changes to the H-1B visa program coming because they've been proposed. The regulations have been proposed. The comment period for the regulations closes on the 22nd, but we still
Yeah,
don't know the final. I mean, that's a 2024 thing to come. It's
yeah.
what is the final version of those regulations? What is the USCIS going to do with all the notes that people sent, and what are they going to do with those? What are those final regulations going to look like? Are they?
So potential a lot of changes in the H-1B world.
Yeah.
Not many changes in the green card world.
I guess I would agree with that. Yes.
Yep. All right. So this is when we switch gears, and hopefully this was a helpful discussion. You
Fun one.
guys had listened to, and if you had any comment, love to hear your comments on the topic. And this is the time when we take your questions, and by all means, bring them in. We're going to do the best we can to answer as many of them as we can. If we cannot answer all of them, And just remember, we are attorneys that don't have all the information about your case, so we cannot give you an answer by which you can make a decision on your case based on what we tell you. So do not make a decision on your case. Do not sell your house. Do not change your employment because you listen to us. Please hire a competent attorney of your choice to advise you on your case before you make that decision on your case. And there are no attorney-client relationship simply because we are virtually communicating on the World Wide Web. Without further delay, Brian, let's take our first question.
Yeah, let's see what we got here. From Kazakhstan, I'm gonna call that the pronunciation. That hi, great show. Can I file an EB2 national interest waiver based I-45 application during my F1 OPT STEM 60-day grace period? Thank you. Short answer is again this I call immediately back to Sam's what he just said is talk to a competent immigration attorney about this, but 60-day grace period for a F1 student that's a period of valid status in the United States, and the rules for an employment-based green card application are that you must be in status. So it would seem something possible, but I would honestly want to
And
really
also under I-4045K, there's the opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's more favorable
Yeah.
than not favorable. I don't want to say yes, but
I would be
but
curious
yes,
as to
but
the are you in a true F1 STEM OPT 60-day grace period for it?
Well,
exam?
assuming it is,
Yeah.
you can change status, by the way, during a STEM OPT.
Yeah.
So that's good news. Under I-45K, also there's some forgiveness there for you,
Yeah.
potentially beyond the status period to file for an employment-based adjustment of status. So the question is, it's very favorable. Talk to an attorney,
Yeah.
but yes, it looks favorable.
Yeah. Gonna keep on going here. From Hafiz, we have filed I-45 for myself and for my wife. My wife is rest of the world born, so we're leveraging cross chargeability. Great. For those who aren't aware, cross chargeability in U.S. immigration matters, they typically put you in an immigration category based upon your country of birth. But if you have a spouse that's born, you can also use your spouse's country of birth. So hypothetically, I'm going to presume that Hafiz is born in India, which just has a backlog, and his wife is say born in Canada. He gets to hop in the Canada line for his employment-based immigration in lieu of the India line, which would obviously have a great big benefit. So looks like there's some part two of this question here. In January Visa Bulletin, EB3 rest of the world moved forward to August 1st, 2022. We recently received letters from USCIS saying G28 form incorrectly filed. This error is only for my wife. My case is clean and there's no issue so far. We received numbers. We received receipt numbers for both. My attorney said they were resubmitted. Is this a big concern? Looks like they accepted the I-45. So Sam, just a heads up, we did lose your video there. I can still hear you. There you are. This is something that I would not worry too hard about. For those who aren't aware, Form G28 is the form that an attorney submits on behalf of the client that says, "Hey, I'm the attorney. I'm representing the client in this matter." And if a G28 is rejected by USCIS, honestly, sometimes they just screw up Form G28. They just forget to log it properly, and that happens. So bottom line is you don't require a G28 ever. And if USCIS received the case,
just have the attorney send another G28.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a big deal. And USCIS have claimed that the G28 has been wasn't not received or whatever.
Yeah. That is a not terribly regular happening, but they will often.
I'm not saying that the G28 was not done correctly, as they said, but I will take it with a grain of salt because number one, G28 is incredibly simple. It is likely that you could miss something in it, but it is incredibly, not very probable.
Yeah.
But what I see a lot is USCIS misplaces them or messes them up or whatever.
They've been
It
known
is
to reject. Yeah.
inconsequential to your case.
Yeah. They've been known to reject things erroneously pretty
Yeah,
regularly.
yeah, but it's no big deal.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect your case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good.
There's a sort of an ellipsis on Hafiz's question. We were hoping we might get biometric appointment date once the dates move past August 3rd, 2022. If your case is filed, Hafiz, you will get. I wouldn't. Your priority date will likely not indicate or impact when you get biometrics, and your biometrics. That's it. Your I-485 moves independent of your I-140 and its priority date. They won't be able to approve your I-45 case, but they should be able to process your biometrics regardless as to where your visa availability is actually at. Is my take on that.
And just informational, adjustment status, employment based in the Nebraska Service Center. USCIS has the audacity to say that they're processing cases. 80% of the cases are, and they're high-fiving themselves for doing a great job for processing time of 34 and a half months.
34 and a half months. So that's closing in on
3 years.
On 3 years.
Yes, in the Nebraska Service Center. I would file this case, and 18 months into it, I'd file a delay lawsuit.
Yeah.
If I were you.
Yeah.
So I'm even afraid to check the Texas Service Center. Oh, the Texas Service Center is doing significantly better, of course. 41 and a half months.
Say,
I-485 employment based is taking 41 and a half months to approve in the Texas Service Center.
Sam, I like
and that's 80% of the cases. 20% of the cases taking longer.
Sam, I have an idea. If they get it up to 252 months that's 21 times 12, right? What you can do instead is have a kid in the United States and just wait for that kid to hit 21 and petition for you while you're processing your employment-based green card application.
And it
doesn't sound so crazy to me, you know?
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So that 41.5 months.
It's ridiculous.
When Congress have told them that you should really approve cases within 6 months, and they take your money. They have no problem taking your money. Yeah, sure. We cash your check. We're gonna throw the damn thing in the shelf for 41 months, and then send you an RFE. Say, 41 is too long. Give me everything one more time because everything is stale, and then start all over again, and then they review it then.
Oh, don't worry, Sam. I'm sure they'll solve this problem by increasing filing fees. You know.
Yeah. So delay lawsuit is really the big thing, and maybe it is.
That was almost on my 2024 list. Whether we're going to be filing a bunch of those for people who
or the number of cases being filed is going to increase significantly, and that's very possible.
What worries me about a change of administration, if you have an administration that is slowing down cases, if they arbitrarily slow these things down, that could be a scenario that leads to more delay lawsuits.
Well, that's 2025 again.
I know, but it's very, very early. Okay, all right, you're right. No inauguration.
But 2024 delay lawsuit might be the way to go, especially if you're getting a Trump administration. After that, stand in line even on delay lawsuits.
Yeah.
But another thing in 2024, Brian, that is significant, in my opinion, that we've overlooked is EB1 filing. It could be the closing of the EB1 filing window.
Yeah.
You and I have been looking at a lot of, our firm does no cost review. If you email us, there is a smart form that we send you to complete.
Yeah, usually if somebody thinks it's worth talking about EB1 for them, if they're bold enough to ask about it, I think it's usually worth having a conversation about. Yeah.
If we think that you're close, we will set up a consultation with you over the phone or Zoom, on Teams. Yeah. If your case is good. If your case is not good, we're going to be politely telling you your case is not good. Yeah. So obviously it helps you to put as much information. You can upload documents in that smart form. You can put in a lot of details, and then we evaluate that. We have people who have filed a significant number of cases successfully on our team. Very specialized people in this area. On top of it, very smart lawyers.
I'm
like
always happy to
Brian.
do an EB1
Yeah,
EB1 talk because I usually meet somebody who's in a cool and interesting field and kind of at the peak of it as well,
yeah,
such that you're going to learn something about an interesting field you may have not heard of
yeah.
before. So yeah.
And we have not posted our our email address here. We usually have that posted on our
Oh yeah.
website. Are you able to post something here for people to see,
Let's
Brian?
let's see. We haven't used those functions for a while. Let me see here if I can find
Do
those.
something, yeah. But EB1, as you look for EB1 window for EB1, may if we get a different administration,
Well, it's the
um,
old firm name, the firm there. But let me see here.
you can
Uh,
modify that for us.
yeah,
But
I can modify
um,
that live here. Yeah.
but if we end up with a new administration in 2025, I'm not sure contact an immigration visa attorney is what you want. I think contact at shehabberg.com.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I can change that. Sure.
Um, so if you believe that is something that you qualify, or you feel that you have the experience, that might be something that you might want to undertake in 2024. And the reason you need to do that is because if we get a Trump administration, I can tell you that is going to go into an immediate
Yeah.
stop.
My
I
comment
mean,
on that.
that's my prediction. I don't know, but that's my prediction,
Well, my
and I'm
comment on
comfortable
that
with that prediction, Brian. Yeah.
is that here was the thing that kind of the big shock that happened in the last Trump administration. The laws didn't he didn't change any immigration laws. They didn't write any new regulations, but the results changed. And just by having different people at the top who basically say, "Here's how we're going to do things," that's enough to change your immigration results. And we saw we typically didn't see H-1B
Have
denials.
you? Do you? I mean, again, I have to remember the amazing financial support form that we have to complete with the
Oh,
adjustment
good.
status.
No, I'm trying not to remember that I-944,
Yes.
the 18 or 19 page form that we submitted with
Yes.
adjustment of status, only for the
Yes.
next administration to totally, get rid of it.
Uh huh.
That was a bit of a stress point as well. In October 2020, I think my hair went gray right here by just having that.
I mean, it was a simple adjustment status application. It became give us your
Employment-based adjustment of
credit
status.
report, all your bank account, every property you own, every social media
Well,
website.
it wasn't just that. I mean, that was painful. This is for employment-based cases where people have a job offer in the United States and still demanding these things. But I mean, it was the quote-unquote Muslim ban. It was the sudden, massive uptick in H-1B denials.
Oh,
Uh,
massive, right?
yeah, 20 mid 2017 through really kind of mid 2020 when people sued the government to stop those things was
What
kind of
about
the
the short-term H-1B approvals?
Oh,
I mean,
short. You're going through the greatest hits of terrible things. Where we would get H-1B approvals that would be already expired by the time we got them. Yeah,
we have received a one day H-1B approval
yeah,
on one of the cases.
yeah,
One day,
yeah.
one day. One day on your H-1B. Go back for how much you paid. You paid $5,000-$6,000
Yeah.
to file this H-1B, and then you get 1 day H-1B extension.
And there was no change in the law. There's no change in the regulations. Just the guy at the top who
Yeah.
says what they mean changed.
So
And
circling back,
yeah,
the reason we're talking about that is we believe that the golden era of EB1 filing potentially can come to an end by 2024.
oh, I
So
mean, any sort of immigration benefit, if I mean, we'll be talking about this in fall of 2024, frankly, but now there's long-term projects like EB1s and that sort of thing, EB5s even, you can do those things, do those things now because, if some things go where they might go in fall of 2025, I'm start fall of 2024, my advice is going to be get your H-1B 3-year extension now because it's going to be, it's not going to be good times to do those things. So let alone, just more discretionary applications like EB1A, where you got to convince them you're a superstar, for
yep,
example.
yep.
So let's get back to the questions
Questions,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
You might want to have to take that banner off.
Well, there you go. It happens automatically when I click the new question here. Does
Hmm.
245K apply both the main applicant and derivative, or just the main applicant?
It
So
applies to derivatives as well.
yeah, yeah, they are, yeah. Bottom line there.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see here. Keep it moving on from Peter. I'm EB2. I accidentally answered no to the public question form on the new I-45 form. Should I wait for an RFE or submit unsolicited answers? A interesting issue with a relatively interesting. What's your take on this, Sam?
My take on this is I need to know a heck of a lot more to be able to answer.
Yeah, they asked
Uh,
the question, the current version of Form I-45, that you subject to the public charge rule, and the answer is most everybody is, and
oh, it's just that specific question, and he
yeah,
answered no.
and there's all the sub questions relating to that, like your household income as well as your highest level of it's your household income, your total household assets, your household liability, your education, and have you ever been on public benefits, for example, or been institutionalized? Classic public charge questions there. And uh,
So, what do you think?
uh, I think that's the sort of thing where you can probably, send a letter and probably a corrected page
I
of the
agree.
form. But fundamentally, you still may get that RFE.
But
Uh,
sending a letter is a good thing
Getting ahead of
because
any issue with USCIS is a good thing.
yes, I agree with you.
I think that's
Yes,
the sort of thing. If you talk to your attorney about the best way of getting that to them and documenting, keep creating a good record, essentially.
yes,
Because my nightmare scenario in anything that's not documented and I send a follow up on is USCIS saying, "Oh, we never got that.
yep,
We never got that."
yep. I agree.
So, from Atul Mohan, do you think Mr. Biden would issue an executive order to remove counting family members towards the 140K green card in 2024 to increase his chances of reelection? Um, that's an interesting question, but do you think
It
that
will not increase his chances for election, unfortunately. I don't think it will because the sad thing is the divide between the immigrants who have absolutely no ability to vote and those who have the ability to vote is huge. Those who have the ability to vote are not going to change their mind because you vote. He allowed it and did not allow it.
yeah,
So in my opinion, that change is not sensitive to increasing votes. If you do a polling out there and say,
yeah,
if we uh, remove counting family members toward the 140 green card, that's allowing more immigrants to immigrate, employment-based immigrants to immigrate, and satisfy the desperate need that this country has, and to be able to remain competitive in the world. Um, would you be willing? Would you that change your mind to vote for Biden or not? 99.9999% of people are going to say,
yeah.
"I have no idea what you're talking about. Talk to me about the economy. Talk to me about the border. Talk to me about those things."
I
And
imagine
not,
myself
yeah,
at like a dinner party trying to explain this to somebody, and their response just consistently being, "Huh? What?" You
yeah,
know, we live in an immigration-centric world, and obviously you do as well, Atul. But the average person, even though I am seeing like Sam last week, we talked about there was an ad, not an ad, an article in the Columbus Dispatch about our local big newspaper about immigration backlogs in the United States, and that's kind of cool to see the work that we deal with every day on the front page of the local newspaper. But you know. Does that I mean, it's better than what I've seen in the past. Seeing this issue in the general public media, public discourse is better for it, but I think it has a long way to go before it's on the top of the average voter's priority list.
yep.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
um Sort of a follow, like, I think it's a
Peter
follow up.
Smith,
Yeah.
how long does it take to get 45 approved after public charge RFE in your experience? I will be current in January 2024. I-140 is approved. Biometrics done. 45 and medical submitted in January 23. EB to rest
Rest
of
of
the
the
world.
world.
Um, I mean, normally you should have approval. Usually, when you get an RFE, they're ready to approve within 30 to 60 days.
Yeah.
I mean, normally they're ready to approve this case.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean,
yeah.
fundamentally, and that R if that RFE comes in, well, that'll take some. I'm not so I don't think anybody can quote you a time after a public charge RFE because I will admit I've never gotten that RFE before. But again, it's a largely administrative matter. I'm surprised if your case has been pending since January 2023 that they didn't raise this issue with you earlier. But I guess that kind of underlines the point that they don't really review these things in detail until they're getting ready to adjudicate them. So,
Yep.
yeah, again, look towards January 2023 for the time when you get that RFE. I think is a reasonable thing to believe
Yep.
for sure. So, Sam, we lack the applause button because we are in our offices right now. But Vishal's thing here is good.
Wow.
My
I-130 and I-45 is approved. What's next? Vishal,
kick back.
you're a permanent resident of the United States.
Yeah, get that card in
Or
your
a
hand.
conditional resident. I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends on your case. But what's next is you should receive a green card in the mail soon. You become either a permanent U.S. permanent resident or a U.S. conditional resident, depending on your facts of the case. And somewhere between 3 to 5 years thereafter, you can apply for U.S. citizenship.
Yeah.
Now, be aware, as a permanent resident, there are rules about preserving your residency that you have to become familiar with. We typically, when we send an approval, we
Yeah,
send
a link to the USCIS. There's a USCIS website about it,
yeah.
but yeah.
And also be aware that certain offenses that can render you deportable
Yeah.
as a permanent resident. So it is you are on good grounds, but not 100% solid until you become a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
After which you are on a lot better grounds to be here permanently in the
Yeah.
United States.
I mean, my short answer is throw a party. Say hooray. Have a good.
Take a vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Take
good end of the year present.
take that green card out for a drive. Use it to enter travel out. Try to take a nice Caribbean vacation and use it to enter the United States, for example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah.
All right, next one.
Yeah. From Satyan. Any steps for job loss after receiving a green card? Green card was received in 2022 August. Job loss is recent. Any information or forms to be sent to USCIS for a job loss? No.
However, a change of address has to always be sent, AR-11, as a permanent resident. That's also for Vishal, who got his green card.
Yeah.
You're still required to file an AR-11 change of address whenever you move from one location to another.
Yeah.
No lost job information to share with USCIS.
You're a permanent resident. You're not required to work.
You can, you can take a break. You can
Yeah.
start your own business. You can do, nothing to do.
Yeah.
But sorry about your job loss. But I'm glad it's after the green card is approved.
Yeah.
Not a bad spot.
Hiring starts up again the beginning of the year. Typically, I am optimistic that you'll have a new offer of employment in the near future. So
Yep.
There you go. Here we are. From Chandrakant. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Can Australian citizens coming on E3 visa to US, born in India, can they apply for a green card? And that's where I go and say, Sam,
So E3.
Yeah.
E3 does not have dual intent.
That's the problem.
Now, having said that, E2, which is completely different than E3, also does not have dual intent.
Yeah.
These people come in on perpetual work. And TN from Canada and Mexico does not have dual intent.
Yeah.
H1B does. L visa does.
Yep.
Now, that's not the question you're asking me. Can you apply for a green card from E3? The answer is it's possible. It's not impossible. It needs to be done right. It needs whoever does it for you must be organized. You need to understand the advantages and disadvantages and the risk involved, but it is not impossible to do it. That would
Yeah.
probably be my best answer.
Yeah, I would say that, being born in India, you will be in the India queue, presuming you don't have a spouse, for example, that's born in Australia. And I would think that eventually, presuming you're not coming, in EB5 or EB1, you would probably need to change to a visa such as H1B that would allow, dual intent, so you can maintain your.
Eventually, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's my only addition to that.
Yeah,
But
that's a
the
good point.
bottom line, if you come to US on an E3 visa, E3 you can stay and renew for some time, and meaning you have all sorts of opportunities to get registered in the H1B visa lottery after you get here. Because why wouldn't you, if you want it and your employer wants to keep you and wants to sponsor a green card for you, they should
Hmm.
toss your name in the H1B lottery for you. So going to keep on going here with a question from Raul. I entered the US on AP last month. My current AP is expired, and the renewal is pending for 5 months. Can I file another AP and hope it may get approved sooner? Um, they well, can you file another AP? Sam, do you have a problem with filing another AP application? The filing
I
fees
don't.
cost, yeah, there's no filing fee for it.
Yeah.
That's the one of the only government filings, immigration filings without it. I don't really have a problem with it either. They might say, "Hey, we're denying this because you have multiple applications," and fine, you have lost nothing aside from your time in completing the form. Do you give much hope that it will be approved sooner? Because Sam, were you looking up the AP processing times there by chance? Because those things are even worse than I think they may be worse than adjustment of status processing times. Because I'm going to look them up right now just so we can both be angry about what the numbers are. Because the AP processing times terrible.
So California is 12 and a half months.
Uh,
National Benefit Center, obviously, they're saying 9 months. I don't believe it.
I don't believe it either.
Yeah, Nebraska is saying 5.5 months. I don't believe it.
I'm on board. Oh, Texas Service Center,
At
17
least
and a half months.
they're honest.
Yeah,
17 and a half months.
yeah.
And what the heck is going on with that Texas Service Center, man?
Well,
Somebody's going to shake those guys, and maybe you should shut them down and disperse the work somewhere else because they cannot seem to be able to get the work done in a reasonable period of time.
yeah. Well, I mean, they can't. They should. I mean, they can and have been known to disperse work around, and I just don't know why. I don't know. If I'm running these things, I know it's probably a logistical nightmare. But if one service center has, a ridiculously high processing time, Texas of 17 and a half months, why are those cases not moved to, whatever it was, Nebraska National Benefit Center that has 9 months, and
Yeah.
so everybody can have 13 months. It is. I talk to people about all sorts of filings, and they say, and I tell them, here's what the processing times look like, and inevitably I say, I don't know which service center your case is going to go to, but here's what they look like, and they inevitably ask, well, can I choose? No, you can't, because you send it to where they tell you to, and it's going to go, wherever they say.
Yeah.
So so it's you can hope, Raul, but I don't know if I would give much hope of that. But let's see what we got here. Because he has more. Can
Can I
I?
can I leave the U.S. and enter back after getting H-1B stamp? Will leaving the U.S. be abandoning my 485 since my status is a parolee? Since I used my AP to enter last time and current AP is pending.
So this falls in the category for me of maybe talk to your immigration attorney about this, because travel questions and status questions and abandoning when your abandonment of your I-45 is to play is something serious. But basically, generally speaking, there are special rules for employment-based adjustment of status, and people who have H-1B status leave the country and return back to that same H-1B employer on an H-1B visa. Those folks won't have their adjustment of status abandoned. But the devil's in the details here, and basically I would remind everybody that the rule of thumb for if you're not unsure is that if you leave the United States with a pending adjustment of status and you don't have a valid advance parole in hand, they will consider your case abandoned. That's that. Yeah.
Excellent answer, Brian. Let's go to the next one.
Well, Rahul has a part 3, and it
Let's go
says,
to part three.
if the visa stamping gets started in January, can I get H-1B visa stamped in the U.S.? And my answer is
This is, Rahul will understand that what you're trying to do is solve one equation with two unknowns.
Yeah.
X plus Y equal 5. What is X and what is Y?
Yeah, but we can factor this down and get.
I mean, getting a stamping in the U.S. is an absolute unknown right now.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Um, but if the visa stamping gets started in January, can I get H-1B stamping in the U.S.?
Yeah.
Brian, I mean, maybe you
I
have a
mean,
better answer than I do.
well, no, I mean, these are the things we talked about when we talked about the H1 potential for H1B stamping in the United States. Rahul is maybe talked about. Well, are you a parolee? Can the Department of State tell the difference between somebody who has a valid H1B approval and but entered on advanced parole versus a valid H1B approval and somebody who entered on H1B status? What are the requirements going to be for this stamping? Do you have to have a valid H1B approval notice, or do you have to have a valid H1B I-94? These are the things that we do not know. I mean, honestly, we could be going live here tomorrow because it could be announced at any time. But nobody has a clear answer for that yet, unless they already work for the government and they know what the regulations are going to look like. So, yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I'm going to keep going here with a question from HF. What documents are required to file for AOS EAD AP renewal for the first time? Do we need to send the barcode paper that came with the EAD AP card? If yes, copy or the original. So I think what HF is getting at is, I believe fun fact, we don't usually see original EAD approvals here in our office because they go directly to our clients, right? But as I recall, they'll usually include, a note on the paper that's attached to that says, you should keep this in the event for your extension because it could help us speed up the case. And, well, I've never heard of that speeding up the case ever, frankly. And most people, I don't think submit those. So that's that for me, Yeah, as to the required documents, I think that's probably outside the scope of what we like to talk about.
Well, it's a case by case basis.
Yeah.
But you got to go down the list and
Yeah.
the logical list, in the instruction form, what supports this application, and the things can move from one case to the other.
If you give them form instructions a deep read, that's where your best starting point is, that because the form instructions are there to tell you how the form should be completed and what we need to mostly approve the case.
Yeah.
So let me see what we got here. Oops, I went back. Right, no, I skipped one. No, here we are. Bing from Barath. Hello, Sam and Brian. I hope this message finds you well. I have a query regarding my I-485 application. My priority date is July 2014, and I submitted my I-485 last year in 2022. Bing. I am considering relocating to India sometime next year and exploring the possibility of converting my pending I-485 to consular processing. Could you please advise if this is an available option? Additionally, I'd appreciate insights to the pros and cons of opting for consular processing. This is a question that I've been asked recently, Sam. I'm curious to hear your take on this.
Well, first of all, there has to be a bona fide job offer in the U.S.
Sure.
Okay, so if you're relocating, I'm assuming you're relocating with the same employer who is going to take you back in the U.S. It's a U.S. employer when the green card is current. So that's the first thing. The second thing that you have to remember is I would never withdraw or abandon I-485, especially in light of the 5-year advanced parole you're getting. So that really is not a good solution for you. And I lost the light in my room.
You're fine. It's against my programming as an immigration attorney to say withdraw an I-485 that's pending. It's an immigration,
So so we don't recommend that, but you can file something called an action on an approved petition. As a form, and that form tells USCIS, hey, send a cable to the visa office. Let them know that I have an approved I-140. That's all what it does, and that takes about a year.
Oh, I think it's worse. I think it's worse. This should be a form of gambling, Sam, where we can just bet on it's I thought it was I-824, maybe it's I-821.
Application for action I-24.
I-24. Okay.
Yeah.
Action on approved petition. I'm
Okay.
gonna I'm gonna guess. Oh, my page is
Case for
switched
action
out.
on approved
I'm
petition.
gonna guess about 2 years. Uh,
Reentry permit refugee is stupid.
yeah,
So
yeah,
advanced
no. I
parole
think
is
I
screwed
think the
up.
form is broken. Yeah.
Yeah, the
If you
form.
refresh
Yeah.
the page, it sometimes fixes this. So I'm gonna do that here.
Okay, I'm
But
gonna do the same thing. Yeah,
I
I'm
eight two
rebooting. Yeah.
four 824. Yeah, here we are. Request action approved. So five different service centers. Oh, baloney. 3.5 months. California Service Center. It never takes 3.5 months.
Vermont is 15 and a half months.
Okay, that's more of an honest answer. 9.5 months at National Benefits Center.
1 year for Texas.
Yeah.
So it takes some time, but be the
Nebraska Service Center, 21
21
months. Yeah.
Nebraska,
So
yeah.
that's what I
That-
believe,
that's- yeah.
is the accurate one. Yeah.
So for USCIS to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, we got a case
Go
approved.
apply for visa. Yeah.
We got a case approved here," and they want you to know, State Department.
Yeah.
That's 2 years.
Yeah.
But that for me, you file the damn thing 3 months later. You file a delay lawsuit. The hell with them.
Yeah.
I'd file a delay lawsuit on that one in a blink.
Yeah, because I mean, I mean, that's only half the battle. We've had people who filed I-824s, waited like a year for them to be approved, and then get stuck, waiting a year at the consulate.
But we kind of digressed.
Yeah.
So you need to file an action on approved petition for the State Department to be informed of the approved I-140. Do not withdraw the I-485.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Then you can proceed to commence the visa processing and the consular processing contemporaneous with your I-485 that's pending. USCIS doesn't like it. I could care less. You're entitled to having a consular processing and a 485 at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do, because you may come back to the U.S. with this 5-year advance parole long before that consular processing pick up any steam.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because the last question here from Barath is, I presume I'd only need to do an I-485J. That's if you come back to the United States on your advance parole and they finish out the adjustment that way. I'd be very interested to see how USCIS treats that adjustment if you've been out of the United States for 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. Technically speaking, I don't think they have
as long as there's a bona fide job.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they'd have as long as it's a bona fide job, I don't think they have a ground to deny it. But I think they would be very interested in this scenario, and they would be looking at your case hard and going, this doesn't make any sense to us.
Yep.
Yep.
I see that we have reached the o'clock, which means we end our 2023 streaming for our friends. Unless something happens between December 18th and December 31st that is of significance, we will probably see you guys next year for our January 1st week, whatever that date may be, Monday at 6 o'clock Eastern time. You guys have an amazing end of the year. If you're traveling back home, go home and celebrate your health, your happiness, your family, your survival. 2023 is a survival year, in my opinion, bouncing out of the pandemic. Enjoy that. Come back refreshed and ready for 2024 for another, probably it's going to be a little bit better, but a grinding year before to see what happened in 2025, which can be an amazing year that way, or an amazing year the other way. Until 2024, guys, you have a fantastic time.